Hello, friends. Our key concept for this week is main idea and details. So we are going to start to read a little bit about energy from the sea. Please read along with me as I have this on the page for you to see. As I sat on the bench the other day, I saw the power of the waves crash on the sand. The water splashed around me. Then the water pulled along the shells that lay around me. This got me thinking. We can use the wind and the sun to make power. We can use water too. Water power is also a renewable resource. It should be able to help us solve our energy problems. Water power has been in use for thousands of years. The earliest use of hydropower can be traced to the water well. It is a big wheel with paddles on the rim. The force of the water turns the wheel. Then the wheel runs machinery that is linked to it. Ancient Egyptians used river currents to turn wheels way back in 2500 BC. The ancient Greeks and Romans used hydropower too. It survived all the way through medieval times. But water power has evolved since then. Way back in 1628, the Pilgrims used it to grind corn in mills. But by the 1800s, hot steam replaced water power as the main power source. People used burning coal to heat water. The boiling water then produced steam, which ran engines and other machines. By the end of the 1800s, water power came back into fashion. Demand rose for electric energy. In 1882, the first hydroelectric plant was built in Appleton, Wisconsin. It could make enough energy to light a house and 2 paper mills. That's not much if you think about it, but it was a start. As time went on, the demand for hydropower steadily increased. One power plant now has the capacity of 7,600 megawatts. Now, normally, ladies and gentlemen, I would absolutely read you the information on the side photo, but I am not today because, as you can see, it did not print out very well, and it just happens that this part is not important to the questions I have today. But there is a problem with hydropower. It is only useful in certain parts of the country. If there is not a large moving water source, then hydropower will not work. This is why some people believe water power is all nonsense. But there are states that do make lots of hydropower. Areas in California and the Pacific Northwest produce the most power. I went to the library to find out how much of our energy comes from water power. About 7.8% of the power made in the United States is from hydropower. To my disbelief, a lot comes from fossil fuels and nuclear power too. I had hoped to see higher numbers for renewable resources. Perhaps one day we can learn to rely just on renewable resources. Look at countries like Brazil and Iceland. Iceland relies on geothermal power from hot springs. Brazil has one of the biggest dams in the world. These countries can give us a preview of how the United States can become a green nation. Okay. So we're going to go to our first question. It says, what are 3 key details in paragraph 2? So I'm going to go back to my first page. Remember that every place you see an indent is the beginning of a new paragraph. So this is the first indent, and this is the second. So this means that this paragraph only from here to here is paragraph 2. I want to know what are 3 key details in paragraph 2. All right, so when I am reading through this, remember that usually we can find the main idea of a paragraph in the first sentence. So, water power has been in use for thousands of years. This would be what my paragraph is about. I want 3 details that support that. The earliest use of hydropower can be traced to the water wheel. It is a big wheel with paddles on the rim. The force of the water turns the wheel. Okay, does this tell me though when it was used? No. Then the wheel runs machinery that is linked to it. Again, it doesn't tell me when. Ancient Egyptians used river currents to turn wheels way back in 2500 BC. So this tells me about people who used it a long time ago. So I'm going to underline this detail. The ancient Greeks and Romans used hydropower too. So again, I'm going to underline this because it was ancient people who used it. It survived all the way through medieval times. Medieval times are also another time period. So now that I've underlined my details that I found, I'm going to go back to my question and show you what I wrote. What are 3 key details in paragraph 2? 1. Ancient Egyptians used river currents to turn water wheels back in 2500 BC. Ancient Greeks and Romans used hydropower, and the water wheels survived through medieval times. Now notice, I used the ideas that I took from the passage, but I did not copy them word for word. I put the idea into my own words. The second question says, how are these details connected? So what do ancient Egyptians, ancient Greeks and Romans, and medieval times have to do with each other? So I went back to look in my passage about what it was that was talking about. I went back to that main idea. These details all tell about different groups of people using water power over thousands of years. They are connected because the whole paragraph talks about using hydropower with a water wheel. Question number 3. What is the main idea of the whole passage? Not just a paragraph, but the whole passage. So I'm going to come back here to the beginning. As I sat on the beach the other day, I saw the power of the waves crash on the sand. The water splashed around me. Then the water pulled along the shells that lay around me. This got me thinking. We can use the wind and the sun to make power. We can use water too. Water power is also a renewable resource. It should be able to help us solve our energy problems. So, the main idea of the whole story in this paragraph is about how we use power. So I'm going to box this information. Now the next place I'm going to go to look is the very last paragraph, because we know in the last paragraph we restate our topic sentence, our topic idea. Perhaps one day we can learn to rely just on renewable resources. Look at countries like Brazil and Iceland. Iceland relies on geothermal power from hot springs. Brazil has one of the biggest dams in the world. These countries can give us a preview of how the United States can become a green nation. So again, I restated my topic sentence from the first paragraph. It closes with what I can do with those things. So I'm going to take those sentences that we just underlined, boxed, and I'm going to look at my answer to number 3. The main idea of the whole passage is we should use renewable resources to solve our energy problems. And I want to add to that because this whole paragraph, the whole passage, was about water power is a good renewable resource. It talked about a few others, but it mostly talked about how we can use water to solve our energy problems. Okay, I hope this helps you with the reteach. If you have any questions or are concerned that you don't understand something, please feel free to reach out to me or your teachers, and I will be back next week with some more information for you.